am building a management company behind all of that to kind of give it a one-stop shop feel, right? I use Gage's services a lot. So Gage, give us a little hooty-doo.
Yep. So Gage, I own Envision Group. We have our Envision Homes contracting firm. So we're building, renovating, flipping houses. We're doing a lot of short-term rental cabins. We have Envision Interiors. We got Karen here. That is our building material and design center. So we're supplying all of our own material for everything that we touch. We've got Envision Holdings because we buy and hold as well. So anything, that between rentals, long-term, short-term. And we're partnered with Den Outdoors now for our architectural department, giving us a lot of cool cabins to build out here and lining us up with some more clients. So kind of like that whole vertical. I'm doing land acquisition, land development, new construction, renovations, and furnishings. So we're taking it all the way to a turnkey product.
Cool. Joel, why don't you give us a little elevator speech here?
Yep. And when these guys get it built and get it ready to go, we go in and they get it all cleaned up, and then we go in and take pretty pictures of it and make it look super expensive so that people, you can book for higher nightly rates and more consistently. So my name is Joel. I own Absolute Altitude. We're a film and photography company. We actually shoot from the Shenandoah Valley all the way down to DC, so we do cover a pretty big area. We have a small but mighty team, and we are really good at helping STR owners stand out in a crowded marketplace. And we do that through, obviously, photography, first and foremost. And we also do that through creative video and really storytelling video that evokes emotion and really gets people not just seeing the space, but seeing how they can actually live in that space for a temporary time. Yeah. So,
and
that's
Joel's team is here as well. So
Yep.
If you do not get a chance to talk to him, at least grab one of them and have a conversation about their services. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and we have cards in the back as well if you want to take one.
Yeah, cool. Last but not least, Eric Corson.
Thanks, Aaron. My name is Eric. I work for a company called STR Insights. We are a short-term rental specific data platform, and we also have a property finding service where we work one-on-one with investors, helping them find profitable short-term rentals. I also do some consulting on the side, focusing on tech stack and operations and helping new investors in the kind of day-to-day operations of their investment property.
Yeah, so what's the point of buying one if it's not profitable, right? Unless you're just going to hang out secondarily, right? Anyway, question?
Pardon? Just the things, the software platforms that you would use on the day-to-day operations of running a short-term rental. So whether it's a PMS platform, dynamic pricing, there's all kinds of other fun things.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that stuff too. So anyway, we've got a little few things to talk about here, so we're going to get into that.
And actually, really quickly, by the
Yep.
way, whenever you have a question tonight, I'm kind of pulling double duty here. So when you have a question tonight, we want to record that question in video, and we can't do that without you talking into the mic. So we have Chris back here. She's going to run the mic over to you. So when you have a question, make sure you're talking to that mic for us.
Just make sure the mic is near your mouth.
Yes, not down here. Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So the whole purpose of why we are here in the first place is to create a deal finder program. So as a group of investors, we are always here to kind of share our ideas, share other opportunities that we may have, things that we're trying to buy, things that we're trying to sell. You never know who you're going to meet along the way, okay? So if you're interested in that, we'll get you clicked in on that. Oh, I went to the end. Wow, how did that go?
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Goodbye.
Enjoying the pizza.
Any questions?
Been a pleasure.
I know why, because it was on play. There we go. All right, so we did the intros, right? What is Grid? Grid is a nationwide investor platform that's really set up for anyone that's interested in real estate investing, from fix and flip to wholesale to short-term rentals every single piece of real estate investing along the way. Our mission is to connect with as many investors as we can. We're growing in leaps and bounds. We just opened one, if you are in that area, down in Harrisonburg. So we're trying to grow that area as well. So there's lots to come by. And I think Chicago is coming next week.
Yeah,
Chicago launched, yeah.
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 Cool. Let's go forward. All right, so we welcome all types of investors, from the brand new to the experienced. We want all of your input along the way because you never know what you have to offer that might be something different that we haven't heard before. Cool. All right, we did the intros. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. So let's kind of go around the room real quick, do a quick intro. Start with Judy.
Okay. Hi, Judy. Hello, Judy Haynes. I'm also a real estate agent. I got into investing a few years ago. I've got a long-term rental, a mid-term rental. I'm working on my first flip with Gage, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt Williams and I'm a short-term rental owner and property manager. I have about soon to be 18 here in Warren County and Shenandoah County.
Hi, my name is Karen. I work with Envision Interiors. On the flip side, I do have some property, have background in flipping homes and renovating, but thrilled to be in the business development and interior side with Gage and Chris, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Chris. You guys see me every week. Let me pass the mic.
What you didn't know about Chris is she also owns another business in Winchester and locally in Front Royal called Vibrasa. Sorry, there you go. Have you heard of it? Have you drank it? Have you tried it? It's a really cool spot. So if you haven't been to it, you should check it out. Who's next on the list? Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Meeta Patel, and I have a short-term rental in Branson, Missouri. I'm looking to do something more local. We're actually near Gainesville, but I really like this area, so looking to do something here.
Cool.
I'm Sanjay Patel. My claim to fame is being Meeta's husband.
Makes sense.
We've invested in a number of different types of real estate, short-term, long-term rentals, but main thing I've been interested in is commercial real estate, apartment complexes, and assisted living facilities.
Cool.
And I'm John Tavares. I've been investing in real estate for a while. I started with single-family rentals and flips, and more recently got into commercial apartments. My wife and I just recently retired from our W-2s, and we don't necessarily want to get back into flipping, but we are interested in maybe exploring short-term rental as a project and be able to do some projects together and build that portfolio.
Cool.
My name is Don Bradner. I just opened my first short-term rental in Linden.
Woohoo!
That's it.
All right. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is my sister Charlotte. So we're a team, and we're looking at short-term rentals, but we did just get our first, well, we haven't closed on it yet, but it's going to be a flip. So we're excited. We're rookies.
Moving
And
in the
this
right
is our
direction.
third meeting here, and we're already,
Sweet.
so thanks to you
Good
guys.
job.
Hi, my name is John Hepler. I'm a part-time real estate investor. I've got several rentals, one short-term, most of them long-term. I'm in the middle of a project with Gage and Chris with Envision. They're helping me out with a rehab. It's going great. I highly recommend them. That's all.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Mehul. This topic really interests me, so that's why I'm here, for the main reason.
Sweet.
Good evening. My name is Ruben. I'm a long-term buy and hold. I'm just interested.
Short term. Cool.
My name's Jim Smalls. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a recovering federal employee. I was one for about 4 decades, and then I switched over to real estate last year.
My name is Mike Kaufbauer, and I am a real estate investor. I own and manage a mix of properties, short-term, long-term, student housing, and I've been doing it for approximately 14, 15 years now.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Steve Kramer. I am a real estate agent in the state of Maryland. Right now, I'm working in finding houses through the dead, and I'm working whatever comes up. Well, maybe not out of ground.
Right.
Hey guys, my name is Snapper Tams. I am an attorney, investor, but I have always loved the hospitality industry. Would love to get into short-term rentals, don't have any yet. But I'm here mostly to learn, but if I can also be helpful or connect with anybody, happy to do so.
Hey, good evening. My name is Glenn Anderson. I've met most of you. I work with Gage, Mike Capella, and Aaron. We do some different things out here. There's really not a lot we don't do. So just come to us. One of us will point you in the right direction if you have any questions.
Glenn, what do you actually do, though? Besides being the all-around cool guy.
I bring the pizza.
Okay.
I'm the pizza guy. I'm sort of the glue that makes things work. If you need money, you need contacts, you need something creative, you need to meet somebody you haven't met yet, give me a call, and I'll make sure it happens. So.
Yeah, cool.
Hello, I'm Lakezia. I own New Home Cleaning Services, so I'm just networking now in the Valley and trying to get my business. I've been in Northern Virginia mostly, but I've expanded out here, so I'm just here to clean you guys' homes and give you the best service.
That sounds great. All right, cool. So real quick, the legal important stuff. Snapper.
Don't sue them, guys.
Yeah. There you go. We can give you advice. We know what we're talking about, but don't take our advice. There you go. We are filming in photography, so if you have any issues with it, yell at Joel. We've done this. Okay. Well, here's a good topic. Short-term rentals. What is a short-term rental? Does anybody know? Anything rented less than 30 days. That's right. Why are they one of the hardest things to actually do? There's a lot of engagement, right? You have to be managing people. You have to be kind of on the front lines of what's going on, unless you hire that role out, right? There's more day-to-day operations than just kind of, here's my tenant for the year and here we go, right? Most of them by average, meaning the average house, right? So why you would work with a person like me or Judy is I'm out here looking at properties every single day. I know what makes money and what doesn't. And out of the 290 properties that are on the market between Warren, Page, and Shenandoah County, there's only 20, if that could be a cool short-term rental. So it's really weeding out the garbage and or really looking for those gems that Gage and I kind of work with, right? Ignoring the regulations. This is another big one. A lot of people get stuck in, I love this house, I want this property, but they're not following the rules, and the next thing you know, the county is now coming in and shutting them down. So one of the things that I do as a short-term rental specialist is I've already investigated all the rules and regulations within Warren County, within Page County. What are the trends going on within Shenandoah County as well? Not to mention the countywide information, but what's going on the HOA level, right? Some of these properties have HOAs that have been around for a very, very long time, and they are silent. They don't say anything in reference to short-term rentals, but the next door neighbor may not like it. And then all of a sudden now you're in the middle of a lawsuit with the HOA because you're short-term renting and they don't want you there, right? So try to avoid all of that. And again, last but not least, we treat it as passive income. These are the most profitable, in my opinion. Short-term rental investments are the most profitable based on what I know, and the income that you can actually make if it's managed properly. Okay. What do you think actually determines ROI? I'm going to throw that one to Eric. Hard question out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into it, but just to maybe rewind for a second, I'm glad this is the first slide, because I think it's an important point that, our attorney friend back there mentioned, wanting to get into the hospitality business. And that's really what you're doing, and what makes short-term rentals a little different than other types of real estate investment is not only is there the real estate aspect, but you have to be excited about purchasing a home and inviting total strangers to come and stay there on an ongoing basis. Sure, if you want to buy a house that you have for yourself and hand it over to a property manager and not make any money, no offense to the property managers in here, but it's hard to have a solid return if you're giving 20% of your revenue to someone else. So like, understand that, yeah, you are investing in a property, but you are also getting into the hospitality business. And if that doesn't excite you, then, maybe this isn't the right place for you. But back to your last question about, what determines ROI, it starts with the purchase, right? And it's about finding those somewhat unique properties that will attract guests. We talk about trying to find a moat and having things about the property that make it difficult for other people to duplicate. Around here, some things that might be moats in other areas may not be a moat here, like a nice mountain view, right? Those are fairly common, but it's almost required, right? Waterfront properties, you have something on the water. People love looking out the window and seeing the river go by. So those types of things can really help you narrow down, focus on what to purchase.
Yeah, and the right technology that's hidden behind it, right? So when you're looking for that right property, right, it's then getting into the numbers, right? So there are multiple tools that we use out there. AirDNA comes to mind as the most important one. That's what most lenders use, airdna.co. It's a paid-for service, but they'll give you pretty, I would say, like Zillow, about 50% of what's actually the number,
Pretty
right?
conservative.
And then there are the Mash Visors and the Raboos of the world. Those are two other sites that I use to kind of take an average of what's going on with this particular property and their projections. Once I have a very close guess to what it is, then it becomes one of those where I'm looking at the competition directly and narrowing down. These guys are at $500 a night, these guys are at $600 a night. What sets them apart? Where would we fit into this mold and kind of work with those numbers, right? It's not an easy story, but at the end of the day, now that we're into it, multiple properties, multiple neighborhoods, we can really narrow this down. And so very, very basic for me. And Matt, maybe you can answer this one too. How much do you charge per bedroom? Basic, just high level. What's your number?
About $100.
Right? So about $100 per night per bedroom. So if you're sitting on a 3-bed, 2-bath property, the floor should be around $300,000 or $300 per night. Okay? Now there's other things that go along with that, of course, occupancy rates and amenities and things like that. But those are the numbers that I kind of look at when I'm kind of studying a property. Okay? So this is very important. This is what I do. This is my blueprint. I followed another person that was here last year, Corey. He kind of told me about this one. This is really, really important. The first and most important thing is the property. We already hinted about it. There's about 10% of the marketplace would be a good STR in my opinion, right? Now everybody, it depends on where the property is located. It might be an STR right now, but it's still, maybe it's on the market because it's not performing, because it doesn't have the amenities that we're looking for. The second piece, Joel, you're the photographer of the hour.
Yep.
Most important thing in my book.
You can have the same property.
Yep.
Shot by, your homeowner with a cell phone, and then you could have a professional photographer come in, and you can have two very different prices you can charge.
And then there's the next level.
Video.
And the people in the
lifestyle videos.
Lifestyle videos, right? So. Yep. As we get further and further into this short-term rental business, right? It's been around for 15, 20 years, right? But really, when I got into it, it started ramping up around COVID, right? A lot of people got out of town. They were like, I need a place to go that I can live and work, and then when I'm not there, rent it out. And they were just basically buying everything that they could as long as it had internet connection, renting it out, and it was making money, right? Or at least paying the bills, right? Now it's a different ballgame. You hear all the conversations about stuff like saturation rate. That's a scary word. I don't worry too much about saturation rate because what I'm telling people is the higher end. We're following all the trends. We're following all the right people like Eric and Joel in the tools that they are using to promote the properties in the right way. Okay? The next is pricing. Back to Eric. So we have a tool called Price Labs, dynamic pricing tool. Give us a little insight.
Yeah, just as the name implies, dynamic pricing, basic concepts are trying to drive as high of a nightly rate as you can in the peak season and adjusting it down to off-peak season. So if a market is only 25% occupied at any given time, maybe around here in January, that might be a fairly accurate number for a lot of places. 1 out of every 4 places is getting booked, and that's it. So you want to make sure that you're priced competitively to drive occupancy throughout the year while not leaving money on the table during those busy times. So, if 4th of July comes around and 100% of the cabins are getting booked, you can, ask for a much higher rate then than you can in January. It's kind of common sense.
Yeah.
And there are tools out there, Price Labs being one, that helps you evaluate this and shows what the market demand is and what some competitors are charging to help you kind of dial that stuff in.
Yeah. And then there's a little competition going on in these tools as well. So if you are thinking about just being on Airbnb, that's great. Well, they have their own dynamic pricing tool, and then they will charge you accordingly for that, which is less than if we were to use Price Labs and other professionally made services, right? So just remember when you're talking about dynamic pricing, talk to a professional about it before you get into that, and we'll go from there. The next and my, beyond finding the right property and finding the right photographer and pricing it right is the people behind you, right? The cleaner, the contractor, the handyman. All those things are absolutely necessary to be successful in this business. If you don't have the right people behind you, you could have all the other things and still fail because now your reviews are bad, right? So Gage, how do you help people with the properties?
I mean, we really start at the very, very beginning and can speak to all of it. I don't want to go too long, but I mean, like Aaron's saying, only about 10% of what's on market would actually even we could make it into a short-term rental through rehabs and renovations and bolting on more amenities. And that's part of the reason why the new construction side is so demanding right now, because we can literally build it with the ROI in the front lane of this will perform because we're hitting all of these numbers. We're building the piece from the beginning with profits in mind. But I mean, even the rehab ones, like we really did see the ramp up in 2020 when everybody kind of ran to the mountains and were buying up everything. A lot of things in Bryce because it's been around for a long time, so they were flipping those houses and adding more, hot tubs and saunas, which we sell, by the way. Yeah, I'm partnered with Almost Heaven and Backyard Discovery. But yeah, so I mean, you can bolt on a lot of amenities to a decent house and make it work. We've got examples of that. We own one not far from here. But if we're really going to map it out as a true investment, like give me some raw land and let's really start there.
Just out of curiosity, what's the hottest trend right now as far as build is concerned? The den products?
I mean, yeah, and they've got their own competitors as well. I mean, that's kind of where we fit in with. They reached out to us earlier in the year. We'd already built a few of their models that were performing really well in the valley over in Page County. And yeah, it has just been a great partnership. but that sleek, modern, Scandinavian, or even the A-frames with just, the twists on it with the natural wood and the metal, black metal up against it, like just a twist from your old concept of an A-frame or a cabin. Just real modern, sharp, lots of glass, really pointing it in the right direction so you're getting the views of the skyline. And uniqueness. You can still make those unique, usually by playing it off of the land, building them into the side of the mountain. There's a lot of different twists to it. We build the same cabin a few different ways and get a much different experience for the guest. But
yeah,
that's kind of the key, and really like the starting point is think like the guest all the way through the process. Like, how are they pulling up to the property? How are they entering the property? What are they experiencing while they're there? And how are they exiting? If you cover it all through a guest perspective, you're on the right track.
So similar question, Joel, so here's our thing, photogenic, right? Experience driven. So tell me, when you roll up on a property, what do you see? How do you handle certain situations like that?
How do I handle that?
Well, I'll put it this way. We went and toured a property. We did video that's coming on the market here in a little while. He had more ideas than I could ever think of, so I'm just kind of picking your brain as a professional photographer. What did you think that was different about we needed?
Well, so we approach real estate, and we shoot real estate as well. And real estate and STR is a little bit, those are two different kind of animals. With STR, this is going to be a long-term for you. This is a long-term investment. So I'm going to want to connect with each and every owner up front. I want to learn about your property. I want to know what's special about it. What are the features? What are the views? I want to learn all those things so that we can incorporate, if we're doing video, then hands down, I need to know those things so that we can build a storyline around those things. Photography is going to be your step one, it's your baseline. You have to have professional photography. If you get nothing else from this, get professional photography for your STRs. Beyond that, I mean, the video production is just going to take you to another level. And video today is paramount. It's what everybody views and looks at. So yeah, so that's
daytime, nighttime.
So in daytime, nighttime, there's so many different services that we offer, and there's so many different things you can do to enhance your listing. Nighttime definitely stands out. So whenever we have rentals that we go and we do during the day, they want photos during the day and video during the day, but then they also get our twilight option. I mean, that definitely stands out. And I'm not talking about day to dusk. And if any of you know what that is, you see them all the time in real estate, and there's, not to shame them, we do them all the time as well. That's basically you take a daytime photo and you make it look like it's night, but nothing beats the real thing. When you have the lit windows at night and, we incorporate that into video production, I mean, it makes your property stand out.
For sure. For sure. Make sure you're also taking pictures of the amenities, the hot tubs with the lights on, not a green one, but the nice blue, clear water. We very specifically go through the Airbnbs, and I make this as a funny, but like anybody that knows anything about the online dating apps that are out there, people are on these websites and they're swiping right on the ones they like and swiping left on more than you can think of. And it's all because of one review or one crappy photograph with a green hot tub, unless the interior is green.
Do you guys have this statistic, like how many photos, how many seconds of the page being up until someone give up? Is that number something you know?
I don't know what that number is, but, I think Airbnb's latest statistics show that about 60% of guests are booking on a mobile device, and if you just go to the Airbnb website or the app and search any area, just start looking at the properties that it shows you first. Mm-hmm. It's places that you're going to want to book. It's not going to show you the crappy properties first, and that one photo is your first chance of catching someone's eye, and if you miss that opportunity for them to click in and learn more about you, you're probably not getting a second chance. So there's, what these two guys do together, is so important. And then hopefully they get into some of the other photos and, start to picture themselves in a stay. You know, you talk about the amenities. It's great if you have a hot tub or a sauna, but you know, if your sauna is sitting in the garage and you know you're staring at
concrete walls.
Well, that's not very exciting, and probably not even Joel can make that look good. But you know, when you have a nice glass, front, and it's on the deck with a mountain view, and you know, you get a real estate photographer in there, and they just take a picture of the sauna. It's like, here's a sauna, because that's sort of what they're trained to do. But someone like him is trained to be like, okay, I got to show this experience of being in the sauna. And
don't put a picture of me in the sauna. You want somebody else. Yeah, that's it.
And just keep in mind that it's that key photo, that is your storefront. Like,
for sure.
That is your storefront. So whatever that key photo is, especially, that is what is going to either make or break somebody swiping left or not.
Yep.
Or swiping right,
Cool. All right, so this here is a step before all that. So a lot of you already have short-term rentals, but I'm going to pick on Matt for a second. Matt, why did you pick the Shenandoah Valley as far as real estate and short-term rental business?
At first, I was the classic COVID, purchase a cabin out here and just wing it for a few months.
Cool.
And then kind of fell in love with the Warren County area because there's a little bit of a barrier for people because of the regulations, but once you understand it and get familiar with it, it's actually a very good market to be in.
Yeah, cool. So I just wrote down 3 here. There's actually a couple more. But what is regional? This is my favorite type of market. Regional means it's drivable. It's got a center city hub that's not far away, right? So we're talking about places like the Smokies. We're talking about the Shenandoah Valley. We're talking about like maybe even that northern Asheville, western North Carolina, all this Blue Ridge stuff going down, right? LJ, Georgia, and all that stuff, right? Then there's the destinations. I'm not a big fan of the destinations. Why am I not a fan of the destinations? Well, you're going to compete with the destination. So a lot of people, they go, best thing ever, we're going to have an Airbnb at Disney. And there are a lot of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
And what else do you have to compete with while you're at Disney?
Disney.
And do you have enough pockets deep enough to keep up with that one? Not in my opinion, right? And then there's the metros. Metros are great. I absolutely love Nashville, but there are a ton of regulations. We had a conference in Nashville, and we went out every night of the week. It was a lot and when you have a lender partner that was paying the bill, even better. We love that guy. But anyway, so those markets are really cool, and there's different things that you can do based on the city that you're in. Now, be careful of the regulations when you get into cities. For example, New York City. There was a whole bunch of Airbnbs in New York City, and then all of a sudden, just like that, they shut you down, right? So I'm trying to mitigate risk as much as possible, all right? Now, I also, when I get into these different markets, I'm going to say, well, who is the avatar that I'm going after? Who's the person that's going to rent this place the most? So that I can build out my marketing plan for after that. Because what I know right now is if I get onto Airbnb and I do something wrong, or if I don't like the fee that Airbnb is charging, I'm out of business if I'm only on their platform. Right? So if I'm going to get into this business, I'm thinking about what I'm doing to build the moat and secure my business around it. Okay? Questions? Thoughts? Everybody's so good. You have one? Yep.
When you're talking about the first pictures, the make or break your deal, do you guys do anything to test like different pictures as your first picture to see which one performs best?
Yeah, so Airbnb will provide, and I mention Airbnb because, they are the number one platform, right? They far surpass Vrbo. They're the elephant in the room, so to speak. So everything, I kind of reference back to them because you put a short-term rental up, that's generally where you're going to get the majority of your bookings. They do provide some basic insights in terms of like how many times you show up on the first page, how many clicks you get. And so, you know, photo is really what's going to drive that click rate. And so you certainly can, on your own, test these things. And there are also tools out there that help with this. There's a couple, one called RankBreeze, one called IntelliHost, and it'll track the changes that you make and then show if that, you know, affected your ranking or your click rate and all these things. So certainly if, you know, a period of time goes by and you're not, you know, seeing bookings, changing up the listing is kind of the first lever to pull of like, okay, maybe I need to try something a little different, and you can track that pretty easily.
I think of one way you can do that as far as a media standpoint is concerned. We have, not that you have to do this with us, but we have a quarterly content refresh program so that every season you're capturing content from that season so that you don't have summer pictures in the winter or winter pictures in the summer. You're changing them up and you're changing your key picture and seeing how that affects your listing.
Yeah, and there's a term that I use all the time, and Joel knows this one a lot, but it's a hero shot, right? What is the one thing that's going to drag that person into your property? And it's not necessarily the front of the house. It could be a picture of the view. It could be the swimming pool, right? It could be the wet bar that you have in the basement with the cool, you know, lights all around it and all that stuff. So there are different things that can be that one thing that's going to join or bring it all together, right? Now, I also believe that, you know, again, I'm a business owner, so I don't want to just be on Airbnb or VRBO, because if they ever shut down for whatever reason, and now people are not going there, I want to make sure that my business is secure, right? So just a little while ago, they changed their fees. And within that fee structure, they went from, what was it, 6%? 3% to 15% if you're not using their tools. And what do you think? And it went from a fee that was being passed along to the guest, right, to now it's all on the owner, which technically is being passed along to the guest, right? So what used to be $300, you know, dollars a night or $100 a night is now $115 a night. And so, you know, part of that is a major problem. Well, what I'm finding, and maybe Matt can speak to this briefly, do you see people going onto Airbnb, finding the house, and then trying to find your direct booking website and get the thing for less?
Absolutely, and we test different prices across Airbnb, Vrbo, and our website, and we will see that if we lower the Vrbo prices relative to Airbnb, which you can do on property management software to kind of price by platform because they all have different fees, guests will search all of those and search your profile name if you've got a company name and choose the one that is the cheapest. Sometimes they say it and you're like, shh, don't talk about that on the platform, but they definitely price shop.
Yeah. So just so you know, like, reviews matter, right? So in my business, reviews matter for me. So if I have a bad review that's over here on Google, but I'm doing very well on Zillow, well, that's great, but like they'll still find this, right? So we have to be consistent all the way down the line, right? For sure. Photography. So again, going back into it, higher nightly rates, first impressions, we just, killed that one. Trust and credibility. This one is very important to me. You can have a really awesome house and then mess it up by putting too many beds and too many things within the house that tighten the space, right? So let's just go by the rules and regs. So out here, I can have a 4-bedroom house and sleep 8 comfortably, and then maybe 10. And then I see people try to squeeze in 12, 15, 16 people into these types of properties. Well, look at the space. I own a 2-bed, 1-bath A-frame. It does sleep 6, but it's only 1,000 square feet. Now I have to think about the table space, the outdoor space. How many chairs do I have? Do I have enough couch space for them to sit down at the end of the day and not be elbow to elbow, right? Mm-hmm. So there's things that you have to think about, and you can take photographs that will make them see the space, right? I'm going to flip back to Gage's property here real quick.
And I was going to say, your photographs should match their expectations when they arrive.
Yeah.
So if they don't match those expectations or exceed them, then obviously that does not build trust.
Yeah, so this here on the right-hand side is Gage's property, and you can see on the inside with this, nice beams and all of that, the exterior photos, and the seating around it, you can see the space that they're advertising, right? It's very important to get that type of
there that's definitely taken with a phone. The angles are off. It's not really showing the space. It's dim. It's dingy looking. It's a swipe right.
Yeah, and you might even go to the reviews on that one and go, it was dirty.
Yeah.
And it may be the cleanest house you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whereas this one looks crisp. Yeah. Cool. Okay, pricing. So again, pricing, cleaning, and seasonality matters, right? So when we are looking at different times of the year, I get people that ask me this question all the time. What do you think our area, how long of a season do we get out here to make money? So it depends. That's my answer. They always tell me, where would you buy an STR? I says, it depends. It depends on the property, first and foremost. It depends on what it is, right? So I would say out this way, we are basically 3 seasons: spring, summer, fall. Heavy on the fall based on the leaf change, right? Winter then becomes a little bit of a challenge. However, I have seen some properties that December with Christmas are knocked out like silly pricing, and they make a ton of money. So that's just December, but then January, February, March, if it's cold, right now might be getting a little bit better because it's warmer out and people are starting to feel it, but like that really 0 degree area, he can tell you January was awful, right? Now, you go to a city, same story, right? Depends on where that city is. Now, if you're in Miami, Eric, tell me about Miami. Anything that you can say about that one? Seasonal?
Not seasonal, no. People go to Miami all the time.
They go all the time.
Summer, probably their slowest season. South Florida and
Too
July
hot.
is not super pleasant. But.
You know, it was interesting. I heard a thing this year that the snowbirds did not come down from Canada this year into Florida. What was that all about?
Yeah, I think there was some impact for sure.
Tariffs?
Yeah. That's part of it. I mean, the Canadian economy is not great either. The Canadian dollar is weaker, so I think there's a lot of factors. But
okay. Cool.
Not to get too political.
I have a question about this.
That could be fun.
The prices and the seasons, do you see a difference between houses that sleep less guests versus houses that sleep more guests? I'm assuming, maybe wrongly, that during the Christmas season you're going to be looking for houses with families oriented.
It may be, but I still, I am a couples-oriented type person, right? So I know the 2-bed, 1-bath, 3-bed, 2-baths, even though they're smaller square footage, there are a lot of them out here. Those tend to rent the most because they're the lowest on the price. Like if you think about real estate, the lower you go on the price, the more people can afford to go, right? And what I find that's really cool about our area is that there are a ton of properties out here, but then, my wife and I might say, you know what, let's just go. Let's get out of the city for the weekend and find a place, bring the dog, go walk on the, Skyline Drive, visit the river, whatever you want to do, and enjoy the wineries and stuff like that afterwards, right? So that's just me and my personality, but there are some. Now, I would tell you, if you want something bigger, you want to make more gross revenue versus profitability margin, I would tell you, lean into one of the resorts, right? The resorts have more amenities on the exterior, skiing, mountain biking. Massanutten even has a new roller coaster down the mountain. There's zip lines. There's indoor-outdoor water park. You're 20 minutes from Harrisonburg, so you can have parents' weekends and all of that. That, I would tell you, if you're going to buy into those communities, then you want a bigger property. 4-bed, 5-bed, 6 beds perform much better because of the length of the stay. Questions on that? So it just depends. Like, it depends on what my budget looks like and where I want it to be, right? So he's focused in on Warren County. Tell us why.
One of the things that we see here is between like our cheapest nights of the year and most expensive, there's almost a 4 times difference, right? So we may be renting on a weekday in February at $150 a night, same 3-bed, 2-bath property up to $600-700 a night in July or October. That allows kind of different parts of the market to access your properties. So we see a lot of kind of shorter couple stays in the February, March timeframe, a lot of families, larger groups maybe for those same properties in the more expensive times of the year.
Yep, for sure. And the biggest pricing mistake that you can be is static all the way through, just kind of keeping it the same, because you're going to leave money on the table at some point, right? And you know, and there's another thing here too that's also applies with occupancy rates, right? So I at one point lowered our rates on our unit to improve the occupancy rate. Well, we got to 95%. Well, then there became other issues. We can't get in there to fix anything if it breaks, right? And so there's little systems along the way that kind of help you out with what you're trying to accomplish with this rental. You know, and being 100% occupied may be an awesome thing to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's probably not, because you're beating the hell out of that property, right? Most of the area in around us, unless you're on the top percentage of this, you're running at about 45 to 60%, and that's not bad. Your properties are running, what, 75, 80%? Yeah, because you know what you're doing, right? So if you want to talk to him about that, he knows what he's doing. All right, so other tools, obviously, Price Labs, AirDNA, Airbnb, Rabu, Mashvisor, STR Insights. If you go to their website, they have a great calculation tool right on the front. You can plop in the address and it'll spit out the info. Tell us more.
Yeah, so that's just a free little tool that's on the website. It's a property analyzer. You can pop in an address and it'll show you, you can narrow it down by bedroom count, and it'll show you properties within, you know, whatever radius you set and what their sort of estimated gross revenue is. So it's a great way to get a feel for what the potential would be, and, you know, start to understand what is driving revenue in whatever market you're looking at, and seeing what the higher performing properties look like versus what the, you know, lower performing properties look like.
I'm going to ask you a secondary question to that. So we are talking about all the different markets, right? So if you were to buy an STR, hypothetically, where would you look? What is the magic number that you want to see as far as profitability?
We start with just a gross ROI number. You know, it used to be you could find 20% pretty easily. So if you bought $1 million house, you would expect it to make a minimum $200,000. That's what we would be looking for in gross revenue. That is getting tougher and tougher to find these days. You know, if you can find something at 15%, that's generally fairly acceptable. Obviously, there's, you know, your cash flow is going to be dependent on a variety of factors, how much you put down, what your interest rate is, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just a real quick and easy sort of starting place.
Yeah, and just for me and my perspective, when I see, and I'm in all the real estate forums online and on Facebook and other places, I see a lot of people lean into the Smokies. Smokies is like the mecca of what's happening in the short-term rental world. But then I look at the prices and what you have to do to compete with them. It's really tough, right? So you're talking about a 2-bed that sleeps 8 or 9 people, right? Technically, and it's got an indoor swimming pool at $1 million, and you're only going to make $100,000. Where you can come out here and buy your house at $500,000 and still pull in that $100,000 in gross revenue. It's really interesting. And The other thing is the properties that he's building, that Scandinavian look, the more modern look, they're moving away from the, in my opinion anyway, the log cabins will always have a place out here. The historic properties will have a place with the beams and all that stuff. You have a couple of those. But they are now leaning into the new, more modern things, the things that people cannot get. And that's what you're building. And that's why they're, so these properties are what, 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet?
I mean, they range, yeah. We've got a model that we're building that's only 650 square feet all the way up to 2,000 square feet. And they
Average 100 and 125 grand in gross revenue.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They're actually like the 900 square foot ones, the Alpine Plus, they're doing average blended along the three, like 130.
Yeah. So if you can find that house or the right person, the right lot, and build a couple of them, you can really make your money back real quick. Cool. People, my favorite topic. If you don't have the right people, you're not going anywhere, obviously. We can do all the other things, and if you can't have the right people, let's talk to her back there. So, cleaning. Tell us what you do.
Clean. I do residential homes, offices, short-term rentals. So I come in and my team, we go in and we do walls, we do everything, baseboards. We make sure that it's presentable enough that when they come in, that they love the property and they're happy with the cleaning, because cleanliness is like the top tier, you know.
You
If you
can't
go
even have
somewhere
a
and
hair
it's
in the
dirty,
sink.
you'll never go back. So.
No, not even a hair in the sink. Yeah.
Not even a hair.
Go ahead.
Thank I have offered doing laundry, but it just depends on how long your stay would be. That's like a big issue because I'm more of coming in cleaning before and like post cleaning before and after. So we do laundry if we have to, but it just depends on the stay. So that would be
Yeah, extra linens. We got him up here.
So one of the things I started using, kind of changing in my language when I'm hiring cleaners, is I don't use the term kind of cleaner anymore, right? Because these are folks who are coming in to turn and prepare the property for the next guests. So it's more than just cleaning. They have to have baseline be very, very good at that, but it's also prepping the property, putting coffee in the right areas, all of the things that are going to create kind of the wow guest experience when they walk in. And then on laundry, across the 18 properties that I do, there's no laundry done on site. We have 3 sets of all sheets, towels, and the cleaners will take those each time and then bring them back clean for the following one. So we tried to do laundry, but it's rough on the washer and dryers, and it slows them down. We have a cleaning team that may do 6 properties a day. If they had to do laundry, they could maybe do 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very simple. So in our unit, it's small, 2-bed, 1-bath. We're mostly not doing anything but much more than maybe 4 to 6 towels mostly, and then 2 beds, king bed and a queen bed. So, and all that can go in at once. They're all white, so it's very simple. That's the first thing that they do is they strip the beds, they pull all the towels, and they throw them in the washer. They push the button. Well, that takes an hour, right? To do at least. And then the drying, that takes an hour. So the rest of the stuff has to happen during that period of time. So it makes sense to me to have a service like he has, where you take it off site so they can focus in on the other things. These are just little tweaks of the services that makes a big difference, right? On top of the cleaning, he's absolutely right, making sure that the supplies are there. So they're actually helping us with inventory. Toilet paper, K-cup pods, napkins, how many glasses got broke along the way, all the little things. Is there enough toilet paper in the house that's going to survive a 6-person scenario, right? And then making sure that the hot tub is cleaned, because we are not turning them over every single time either. Now, there's a reason for that. We are on a well. If we were to drain our hot tub and try to refill it, the well would run dry. And here's the most important one, and this was something that I learned after, is there's minerals in our water that don't apply well with our hot tub. And it turned everything could be right and the colors are off. Right? So we had to hire a guy with a truck that brings water in from Front Royal, right, and fills it up once we do that. Now we pay him a little bit extra, but that was a long, hard lesson learned, is that we wanted that, that right, city water to come in and make it go. You see that too?
Yeah, green hot tub water is no good.
No good. Yeah, unless
doesn't photograph
unless you
well.
have green lights, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, a cleaner is going to be generally your most important person, especially if you don't live super close to your property and can't get there very often. They're your eyes on the ground, and it takes a different mentality to be cleaning a short-term rental, turning it over, versus just a traditional residential cleaner. Like you said, not a single hair in the bathtub, right? If my house cleaner comes at home and then I go take a shower the next morning and one of my hairs is, I don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But you will hear about it if there's a hair in your bathtub when a guest arrives. And, there's little things too, that just, the basic operations. Is a smoke detector beeping, right? You don't want your cleaner to not tell you that and take the batteries out because it's annoying them while they're cleaning. Like, that would be a terrible disaster.
Oh, you bring up batteries, remote control batteries.
Remote controls, turn every TV on, make sure the remotes are working. So it kind of goes beyond cleaning.
Ceiling fans.
It goes back to the concept of they're also in the hospitality business, not just the cleaning business.
Yeah. Gage, anything to add on that?
No, I agree 100%.
Okay. That's important, right? We all have clear.
It's fun if you to disagree.
I'm enjoying the process because I do that for my property now personally because I want it exactly the way, but I'm training our cleaner to meet my standards.
Yeah.
And it's like I stage every room every single time. Like I want the fan speed all set the same in every room, the door cracked just right, like these lights on, those lights off. Everything matters.
You want to know the difference between 50% occupied and 80% occupied. These are the things that you need to do, or at least hire the right people to do that, right? Anybody not want a short-term rental now? Clear expectations is always the key, right? Make sure that you're hiring the right people, you're interviewing them the right way, they're charging you the right things because they know what their fees are, they know what their, all of the stuff right down to the minute. And I can tell you probably know what square footage and how long it takes a house to be cleaned and done properly, right? Based on what you're buying. Glenn.
Once the room is complete, so that and upload it to me. So if a guest came in and there's a rat on the bed all of a sudden or whatever, I had some understanding of what happened in transition. So it's more to protect me perhaps, but also to know that they did a good job. If they're going to do a video, they're going to make sure it's spot on perfect.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to step off of that unless anybody has any questions. No, it's good. We beat it up. Cool. Legal risk, we talked about this before. Work with a professional that knows what they're doing before you buy something. We actually made a mistake our first time around because we didn't know. And it was my fault, but I got lucky. So we bought a house in Warren County. What's the biggest rule that we have to follow?
Avoid some of those HOAs.
Avoid HOAs is a big one. But no, you have to be 100 feet away from your next door neighbor on all sides. Right? So not just side to side, but in back and in front of you as well. And so I bought a house. It was a great deal. We still own this house today. We're still renting it as a short-term rental. It's 48 feet from the next door neighbor.
I know which one it is now.
Yes. I got lucky. And the reason I got lucky is the previous owner to us had the permit, and so it transferred over with us. They also had seen me around a couple of times because I tend to show up for my properties when they go through those different court hearings, and with my clients as well, so in case anything weird pops up, right? We actually bought one over in Blue Mountain. It was a perfect Airbnb. Everything, you worked on it. Hickory Nut. It was perfect. Had met all of the criteria. And what happened?
You guys didn't show up to the hearing.
We didn't show up to the hearing.
Against them.
Somebody came in and said, we don't want it in our neighborhood, and they cut us off.
Yep.
Turned it into a midterm rental. We didn't make as much money. Yeah, it got worse than that. The person we put in there as a midterm renter became a really bad idea. When they moved, they took all of our furniture and damaged the house to a point of basically no return, and then we had to re-renovate it and put it back out there so we could get rid of it.
Do you know who made money on Hickory Nut?
So if you ever hear the word Hickory Nut and there's a good STR there, disagree right away. Question.
I was just going to say, to add to that, not to scare people, but I had a client who went into, it was her first STR, she bought a house, she was actually a real estate agent, didn't know maybe all of the laws, or maybe did and just kind of bypassed them. It was very popular, in fact, so much so, actually made it to HGTV. Huge renovation, huge project, super cool project. Neighbors weren't happy. County came against her, shut her down. She had to sell.
Oof.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully she made a little bit of money on the sale.
I think she got her money back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best case scenario unless you can midterm rent it and then you don't need a permit. Anything more than 30 days, you're good. But then I would say get closer to other amenities, the hospitals, the colleges, the things like that, so that when they bring in the temporary employees, then they can at least have a space to go. Midterm rentals can be a really lucrative opportunity as well, depending on where it's located as well. I have a friend that bought one. It was a row house in the center of Philadelphia. It's an end unit. She put a fence around the back and had one car parking. So her mortgage payment's $900 a month. Her utilities are probably another $200 to $300 a month. She pulls in $5,000 a month by renting it midterm, just because of the schools and all of the hospitals and all the stuff around it. And it has parking. So anything else?
I would say too that, every city or county has this posted on a website somewhere, so you can find regulations wherever you're looking, and if things are ambiguous.
Yeah. So I'll give you the answer.
Like, here's my address. Is this able to be rented? And usually someone there can tell you too.
So that's what I do, right? So in Warren County, I pick up the phone, I call the office over there. They probably hate talking to me because I call them 3 times a day. Hey, what's this address? Do you think it can be? Well, yes, there's 2 on the street, or there was one, there's nobody on the street. It meets the criteria, but nobody on the street. Do you want to do this or not? And I'm like, no, I don't. Especially at $1 million. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, so those are the big ones. The other thing that you need to be really, 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 really cautious about is a lot of these homeowners associations in the valley are so old, meaning the 80s, 90s, whatever, that they are silent in the respect that they don't have any words or language in reference to short-term rentals. They're also managed by the homeowners. They're not interested in updating the thing. As long as they collect their road maintenance agreement fees, they're happy, right? I actually had a really great property under contract. The guy lived in Philadelphia. He wanted to buy this. It was on the Shenandoah River. It was in Newmarket. It had 5 acres and a basketball court. It had a swimming pool. The hot tub was already in place. There was a detached garage that could have been the game room with an apartment above. This thing was perfect. Everything was perfect. We had it under contract at $700,000, and the Shenandoah River was behind us. The day we're supposed to have the HOA docs, they are delivered. The president of the HOA says, I need your seller or buyer to call me directly so we can make sure that the payments transfer appropriately. As soon as he picked up the phone and called him and told him what he was going to do with the house, the guy got belligerent and said, we don't want your shit here. We already ran somebody out of here because of that. And so we had to quickly cancel the contract because we don't want, I mean, it didn't say anything in the HOA docs. We used the HOA docs as the out. So just be careful. Some of the documents do not say anything about it. So I use ChatGPT to start with. Warren County rules, it'll give me a nice list. And then I can use that information to then go to the agents and or the county and ask the right questions. Because I may not know what the right question is right off the bat.
The other thing I'll add is, especially in Warren County over the years, we've kind of seen ebbs and flows with how amenable the board is to approving short-term rentals. So now data centers are the enemy and tourism has a better light on it. So I would have said last year, if you were a first-time investor, like be very cautious with Warren County. Now I'm a little bit more optimistic with it. And I think it's, you know, as long as you follow the rules, the 100-foot, you avoid certain HOAs, it's a pretty good high likelihood, but you still have to be careful.
Yep. Also, be nice to your neighbors. I mean, honestly, another reason we got through with that one is we knocked on the door of all the neighbors that were directly in contact with us, and we asked them the question. One of them wound up to be a contractor. We started working with him to give him some money, and he was happy, and then we had to have Gage come back and fix everything that he did. Right? You remember that concrete pad? You don't remember that concrete pad?
Probably, man.
Okay.
On the neighbors topic, I know a lot of you know, but there's cameras everywhere. So everything you say until you're in your car may be used against you.
That
so
too.
Just be very nice to the
That
neighbors.
too. That's right. There's also permit changes. So right now in Page County, it's by right. You're allowed to have whatever you want, right? But try to keep up with what's going on, because every time they have a Board of Supervisors meeting, they're talking about it, right? And sometimes they just want to kick the can and not talk about it, but sometimes they do, and then there are a lot of people show up. So just make sure you're on the cutting edge of all of this. It's the way to lose your business immediately, okay? All right. This is another favorite part of my speech. Eric will help me with this one. You got to build your business someplace else other than on the platforms. I mean, a lot of people just use the platforms as their thing, and they really get really good at it, right? And they can make a lot of money by just using the platforms. But if you want to be successful, really successful, this is the way to go, right? We need to get you into that guest avatar. Who is renting your property more frequently so that we can directly decorate the property? We can have the right amenities there for it. Do I need, so for example, I'll just use one. There's a great set of properties that have amazing views. They're upside down or up this mountain. And I can't get into it with my front wheel drive car. I have to use a 4-wheel drive car. Well, then they have EV charging stations there. Now, great. I'm grateful that you have that. I don't need it personally, but there's no 4-wheel EV charger that I know of, unless it's one of those lightning pickup trucks, right?
Oh, I've had this conversation all the time, because every single one of them, I've got to design and develop the land with a Tesla in mind, and to the point where you can, I'm gonna start renting Jeeps. You know,
well, so this
like,
I will tell you
this.
this.
Have a rental Jeep lot here locally.
So this particular, it's 8 units. It's in Rileyville, and it goes up the mountain. And the guy at the bottom of the hill, parked next to his 2 8-yard dumpsters, are 4 farm use piece of junk Jeep Cherokees, like old. And you have to hit a kill switch so you don't run the battery out. And a lot of times they don't. I mean, it's just you roll up going, what is this janky thing that I'm trying to get up here? It's not even like the experience is terrible. But if you do that, make sure they're fancy, like, you know. Be fancy.
It is interesting, because like that is the thing. Like, we're putting EV chargers on every one of them, and everybody rolls in a Tesla.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like this far off the ground.
It's crazy. That's right.
Toyota and Subaru makes EVs now, just so you know.
What does?
Toyota and Subaru make great EVs, all-wheel drive.
Okay.
So they're coming up the mountains.
All right. Well, you need to have them. And this is a funny story too. So there was a young lady that she was living in Tyson's Corner in a condo and wanted to buy an STR out here, and she had a Tesla. And one day that we were out here, it snowed, and I had to push her car out of the snow. And me by myself is not going to manage this. So I said, listen, we can't look at the next 3 houses because you're never going to get out of there. And then she said, well, I have no charge. I said, well, why the hell did you come out here anyway? There's no chargers out here. Are there any chargers out here that I know of?
There will be on my rental lot.
On your...
No, this is a desert.
This is a desert compared to that, right? And do you charge for that?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely not, actually.
Yeah.
No, that's free. Yeah. Good point.
Okay, cool. So everybody, we beat this one up enough too. All right.
So I would jump on that real quick.
Yeah.
And I would say that building a brand on social media is going to be your secret weapon of becoming a great Airbnb. Because all the great Airbnbs, like the really great ones, they're on social media. They have a brand, they have a following, they have their own life form, honestly. And they're direct booking through there. So they're not Airbnb, they're not VRBO, they're direct booking through there. Influencers, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Oof.
But we offer that service as well. Influencers want to come and stay there. You have free advertising sometimes. Sometimes people want to come and stay at your place for a night and just to have your house on their Instagram feed. So don't underestimate the power of social media and building your brand through those platforms because they are truly a secret weapon. Sure.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just sort of have that in the back of your mind as you're beginning this process, right? Whether you're, whatever you're buying, renovating, building, and then having the marketing materials to go with it. You buy an average house in an average location with average amenities, it gets tough to market it. If you see a Marriott commercial on TV, they're not showing you the Spring Hill Suites next to Dulles Airport. They're showing you, their properties in South Beach with the attractive, scantily clad guests and all
all the
exciting things.
all the cool stuff, right? Yeah. As I'm thinking about that, this brings me back to a deal that I did last fall. So this property, you may have seen it, you may have heard about it, you may have stayed at it. I don't know. But anybody have heard the term Ava Shenandoah? Okay. So this is a gorgeous 4-bed, 3-bath, A-frame movie theater, beautiful views, hot tub, archery center, secret room, the whole kit, right? Gage, how much did he build it for?
I think he had about 800 in it.
Okay. So on our rules, he was on Airbnb as the only platform. He made about $120,000 consistently over a couple of years. That's a good rental at that price. Okay? What he didn't tell you is he used a company called The Content House out of New York City to come in and create this huge Instagram following. $320,000 in direct bookings 2 times in a row. So I just sold that property to another investment company. They bought the entire thing. They bought the real estate, a couple other buildings that he's building, plus the marketing, the content, all of the previous website addresses and all of that for $2.1 million. So think about that. Like you have an $800,000 asset, you can make 150, 160 and you're happy, right? Well, what if you're pulling in 450 or 800, right? Just by doing this stuff here. Now, you can hire this guy and he charges a bit of money. But at the same time, it could be absolutely worth that to have that additional $10,000 to $15,000, $20,000 a month just by using his services, right? Absolutely, yeah, 100%, right? Yeah.
I'm a little biased though.
Yeah, you are. That's why we have you here.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, so other things. I also want you to collect email addresses. Can you do that through Airbnb? No. So you have to come up with a way to create a get their email address scenario. Okay? There are a couple of tools that I know of. Eric, you're going to help me out. StayFi.
StayFi is number one. It's a device and platform similar to, if you're at the local coffee shop or maybe at the airport when you connect to a Wi-Fi network and then you have to log in, provide your email address. StayFi is a platform that's built and designed specifically for short-term rentals that does the same thing. Guest arrives, they're presented with this welcome screen when they connect and then log in. So you get not only the email address of the person that booked, but pretty much anyone that's staying there.
Yeah, you can target market them.
Quick way, especially if you have a larger property, to build a pretty good size email list of past guests.
Cool. I also use tools like QR codes, right? So you can get little placards and put them all over the house. I went into one house, it was 20 bedrooms, and it was a big, like, it was a hotel basically, but it was there. And they had a little QR code on a wooden wall placard. And I looked them up on Wayfair. They were like $10 to create. Do that, send them to a place where they have to register for their email, give them some discounts, and there are other tools, right? So concierge services. Who wouldn't want a massage for 10% off to come to the property while you're staying there? We've done that. Rose petals on an anniversary, thrown all over the house. Not the favorite thing for the cleaner, but it's been done, right? Chefs. We've had chefs show up to the property. And all of these concierge services, we get paid a certain portion of their fee. So they bump up their fee a little bit. We get a little take for that. Discounts to all the kayakers and the tubing companies and stuff like that, right? Those are all amenities that no one else has. One of the other ones, and we'll throw this out there, if you're at a ski resort, buy the passes, corporate passes. Hand them to the guests so they can use them for free, right? So you're going to spend, so you go to Bryce Resort, it's about $1,100 a person. It's totally worth it because you're going to get booked 5 or 6 more times per month than the next guy because you have the free passes, right? So just little things like that. So as I'm talking about exceptional services, those are the things, exceptional experiences. If I offer those all include, they may pay a little bit extra for it, but people want to come out for an experience. I'm going to teach them what an experience is all about. Okay? All right. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
Criticisms.
For the marketing, I came late, maybe you already covered. Do you just use Airbnb? Do you use your own website?
I do not create a website, but there are tools out there that can. Any one of those property management softwares, Guesty, Lodgify, Hospitable. Hospitable is the one I like to use. Those have what they call a static website that's given to you when you buy their services. Then you can connect all the platforms plus Price Labs within it and manage your calendar in one spot. You can actually do turnovers and all that too from that one website. You then take your marketing and lead them directly to that through Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you're off and running. You can create Google ads to a web address and stuff like that. What I would tell you is you want to go a little bit deeper than that, right? We had the attorneys here a couple of months ago, right? So I would create an LLC with the brand name, make sure all the finances are running through the right place, right? We do all those things, and then you can build that brand, because then you can have multiple properties in different locations and have still a singular website, right? Does that answer your question?
Yes. Is that all of your mainly is on Airbnb platform?
So Airbnb does not put all of that there, right? It's just the property itself, right? They may have some extra features for, if they're looking around, like they have experiences tab at the top, but that doesn't necessarily give you any publicity or anything like that. So I would say create a social presence, Facebook, Instagram, to lead them to a website. If you can build something that has search engine optimization to it, that's going to cost a little bit more than the Guesty, Hospitable, Lodgify. But it's dependent on that person, on what you want to do.
Yeah, I would say the 101 when you're just starting, if it's your first property and you're launching it, I mean, you could do a lot with websites and marketing on your own and whatnot. It's there's a lot that can be done, but at least for starters, think of a unique, fun name for your property. have a website available with a, the custom domain. You can use one that a PMS generates for you. It's not going to be the best website in the world, but it's sort of the easy button and a quick way to get started. There's plenty of savvy travelers out there now that, if they go find you on Airbnb and they see a property name, they will Google you and hopefully find your website and book direct. I get a number of bookings every year for, every property, people that find me just that way. And it's pretty easy to do and minimal cost and generally, reaps some dividends.
Yeah, and then the email list on top of that, right? So, the email list is not going to help you with search engine optimization, but it's a way to reach out to those past clients or guests that showed up and say, hey, come on back again. We'll offer you a little discount. We'd love to have you stay again. Whatever. There are some people you just don't want back in your property as well. You don't want their email address, but if you do see it, red mark it, say, don't come back.
Send them to your neighbor down the street.
That's right. That's right. Glenn.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your experience and sharing with us. I really love the appreciation of you. If I could ask each of you just one thought or one thing that surprised you the most that you've learned on your journey here, good or bad, whatever that might be.
Start with Gage.
What surprised me the most in my journey? Oh, I'm going to defer. I'll come back.
You're coming back.
Caught me there.
Yeah,
You're going to come back too?
I'll defer.
All right, I can go if you can. You got one?
I do, yeah. The one thing I guess that surprised me the most on my journey in this, and this goes for real estate as well, is how many people still aren't using professional photos for, their investments, especially when I know it's like you pour a ton of money into these investments, sometimes building them from the ground up,
right,
only to stop short when you're right at the finish line. And this is your storefront, this is your opportunity, but then let's just finish it off. Because you're ready to make that money, and I totally get that. But it's like, go through that finish line.
Yep. All right, I'm going to give you a sad story. Judy knows me from a long time, but I've had my real estate license since 2002. I've been through almost every market that you can think of. And the one that hits me the hardest is that market around 2008 when everything went and hit the ground, right? I actually did the most amount of real estate during that period of time. How did I do that? I solely focused on the first-time home buyer. I stopped listing property because every listing was dropping like a leaded balloon, like it wasn't going anywhere. So I focused in on all my friends that had listings. I will hold them open every day of the week. Buyers were coming in droves, looking for deals. And because I wasn't representing the seller at that point, Judy, don't tell me, don't say that I was doing something wrong. But I would say, hey, here's what I would tell you. Make this offer. Right now, this house is listed at $300,000. Let's take 10% off the price of that. Would that make you write an offer on this property? What if I could include all of the closing costs? And then if I got you an $8,000 tax credit because you're a first-time home buyer. So now the deal is $250,000. They were writing those up. I sold 25 houses in the worst market based on doing that because the seller wanted out of there. They didn't care. They were losing money doing short sales, whatever the story was. It wasn't their money at that point, right? Fast forward, 2020, what happened? COVID. I'm like, how am I going to feed my family? I'm the breadwinner. I'm the only one doing this. My wife is a school teacher. The kids work. They all put in money, but I'm the one that's supporting the income. And so I had to come up with a way. Remembering, focus, and niche down, right? So now I'm standing there and the team is now sending me, because I lived in Berryville at the time, sending me out this way. Because a lot of people were looking to buy properties because they wanted out of there. This was not anything related to Airbnb, by the way. This was, I just want to be out of there. As long as I had internet connection, I'm good. I can work from anywhere. Well, then I started looking at what was out here. Have you ever driven down some of these roads and the river is like right there? Like, how beautiful, right? I drove down this one road today, Canoe River Road. The houses on that road are so nice. The windows are there, the river is there, it's like a different world altogether. So that I fell in love with. Well, then I started learning and listening to people like Eric and Joel and Gage, and I really just honed in. And now I'm one of maybe 2 realtors in this entire Shenandoah Valley that focuses in on you. There are realtors out here, don't get me wrong, but they don't know the things that I know. They don't do the things that I do. They don't bring people like Eric and Joel and Gage to the table to improve the investment opportunity. That's something I learned. The further you can niche down, the better your opportunities become. So if you are trying to be an investor for everything, you will not be very good at anything. Does that answer your question?
I'll give it a shot now that I've got some basis around it. There is a little bit of surprise to it all. So like, I'm in my 30th year in the industry, and I'm not that old. I've been doing it my entire life. I've started in residential, and during that same market bust when the banks collapsed and everything, I was with Toll Brothers, and we rode through a little bit longer. In 2009, they severanced me off. I went through a nasty divorce, and I hit the road doing hotels all over the country and other parts of the world. Put all that together. So I was in the hospitality industry doing FF&E for nearly 10 years. Came back in 2019, right before COVID. What am I going to do with my recently found sobriety? Recovered alcoholic, had a huge ego in my lifetime, and I was like, what am I going to do? And started this construction firm, and COVID hit, and the light bulb went off. It was like, I build, and I know hospitality, and STRs are just booming. So collaborations kept coming, partnerships kept coming, the right people kept coming all the way through. You know, we've got Chris, my right-hand man, and,
man.
You know, all the way through. We've got Bob, you know, one of my mentors from early years. Like, we've just keep bolting on new partnerships, new people, new management right here in our hometown, and it's like, it's a hot spot. You know, I saw something the other day that was like, we're like in the top 5 all the time, not the top number 2 or something for STR investments, and we're playing a big part of that, and it's only going to excel and keep
that
growing.
Came from Eric's company.
Yeah.
So his CEO, Kenny Bedwell, runs the whole show over there, and he goes out and he analyzes all the markets. He'll let you tell him.
That's what yeah.
He analyzes all the markets out there. Well, anyway, this is one of the things is now I'm involved with them as a partner, and when they find the house that they want, or the investor says, yeah, I'll look at the Shenandoah Valley, then I'm sending them the property specifically. So our relationship is really good. What I didn't know, and maybe you do, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, there are 2 million visitors to the Shenandoah National Forest every year. We also have the Shenandoah River, and there's no hotels out here, very rare, right? So it's a hotbed. We're 2 hours from Washington, D.C., very drivable. We're 3.5 hours from Richmond, 3 hours from Philly and Baltimore, and you can throw in Pittsburgh if you really, really wanted to.
Yes,
so
you need to throw in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Go Steelers.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle. Anyway, all 5 of those feeder cities are looking at our area, right? Poconos are doing really well. The Finger Lakes of New York are doing really well, right? What else? What's really good right now?
I think you hit it.
Hit them all?
Yeah,
okay, pretty good. All of those are regional markets. All of those are drivable. It's very, very simple. I think that's the best opportunity you have.
And I think you made a point without trying to make a point. Before I answer your question, which I do have an answer for, but you mentioned that in this area you're one of 2 short-term rental specific
agents, yeah.
realtors. Wherever you're looking, if it's not here, find an agent that works specifically with short-term rentals. I know hundreds of them all around the country, so if you need a connection somewhere, hit me up. number one question you should ask a realtor if you're working with them on purchasing a short-term rental is if they're an investor themselves. And if they're not, you probably want to find somebody else that is. They'll know, most importantly, the regulations. They'll understand what works in that market, what doesn't work, have an idea of accurate revenue projections. They'll be worth their weight in gold. That's why our company, we work with people like Aaron that are knowledgeable about the market. You know, we work with clients that are buying all around the country. We can't be experts in every single market, so we rely on others to do the heavy lifting for us.
Answer your question.
Yeah, unless are we done with
No,
that
yeah, we're done. We're
particular
good.
topic? Did you have a question about that?
Answer your question first, then I'll ask.
Yeah, biggest surprise. I don't know if it's necessarily a big surprise, but you know, when I got into this, I bought a house in Panama City Beach, Florida. I had no connection to the market. I bought it strictly as an investment. I have no emotional attachment to the house itself. But over time, as I've then acquired other properties, I get people that come and visit and stay, and they form their own bond or connection with the property. And if anyone is active on Facebook, like there's short-term rental specific Facebook groups for hosts, and if you spend 10 minutes in any of those groups, it will convince you that you should never buy a short-term rental because it's full of people venting and complaining about
Asking
guests.
for
And you think
discounts.
every guest is a horrible nightmare. That's really not the case at all. I have people that come back to my properties year after year. They follow me on Facebook. They like my posts when I post something. And I don't know, it gives me a bit of a sense of pride that I was able to create that for them. And I don't know, maybe that's what kind of surprised me the most is that like I put something out there and people connected with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a question about the marketing, because that's being one of the hottest take that I'm taking from this meeting today. It's not only about the house, it's a lot about the marketing on this. We had a lot of clients that they don't live around here. How do you guys suggest, I know, hire you, but what is the cadence of how often do you create content for them? You have packages that cover this. I struggle with social media. I'm a very digital shy person, so it's a little foreign concept for me. How do you guys suggest people that buy STRs away from where they live?
Well, even if you live next door to it, you still, okay. This is a loaded question. If
It could be
you
a
jump in the pool,
a whole night unto
you
itself.
really need to know how to swim. Do you need to be Michael Phelps level of swimmer? Maybe. But if you really want to kill it in social media and or online with your property, you need to be posting 2 to 3 times a week at least, at minimum, content. Videos, pictures, other amenities, things around you, people that have visited. Like I am creating, this is for my real estate business and I haven't done it yet. I've been thinking about it since the conference that I went to in Nashville last year. I created a section of my Instagram page through a highlight button. And that highlight button says reviews. And of that, I need to go and do a video with this guy. 5 seconds. What was your experience with Aaron? Boom. And then that goes into that and it stays there in the world because that's where most people are. They're not going, they use Google, don't get me wrong. They do look for reviews, but most people spend 90% of their time on social, right? Now, do you create for a 20-bedroom property an Instagram page? Absolutely. Do you create a couples only retreat on Instagram? Yes, you do. So some platforms work better. Like if you're talking about real estate business, ask Snapper. He'll tell you how many posts a day do you do for your real estate business or in lawyer business? 1 post a day. And how many platforms?
TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It's not always the same post across each of them. So, given we probably have 10, 11 unique pieces of content that we're publishing.
Yeah. So that's why you hire this guy.
And I would say it's also dependent on your goals. some people don't want exponential, growth as far as like followers on Instagram and things, where others really want to capture as much attention on social media as possible. Some, they just want it to be consistent enough to keep them relevant and to keep them rolling. So it really does depend on your goals. When we meet with clients, we have a social media side of the house, and that's one of the questions we ask them, like how aggressive do you want to grow? Because if you want to grow really aggressive, then yeah, you better be posting 7 to 10 times a week. But if you want to just maintain, maybe you're 3 times, 4 times a week.
You can even narrow it down to when do people actually look at my stuff, right? So early in the morning, lunchtime, and in the evening, right? The middle of the 10 to 11, 9 to, that window is not very good. So if you're posting content, do it before you get to work, right? Then in the middle of the day while they're at lunch, and then right after they get home, happy hour, whatever, you're doing good.
And one thing too that's kind of underrated that I think a lot of people don't realize is when you think about social media, you think about scheduling and all that, it sounds overwhelming, but you can batch record a lot of things. So you can batch record a lot of content ahead of time, and you can, either you have someone hired that cuts that up for you, a strategist that's helping you out, but the actual filming or the photography or the content capturing can really happen. We do sessions where we'll capture like talking head videos of people. We'll do 15 videos in 2 hours. And it's just teleprompter. I mean, this is a little bit of a different animal, but same concept. You can batch record content or hire someone to batch record content and then strategize that out for the month.
For sure.
Okay, so yes, Aaron, you've known me a while too, so I'm the numbers person.
Yeah.
So touch on when you have a short-term rental, what do you mentioned 20% for management fees. What other kind of rules of thumb, back of the napkin kind of calculations do you look at when you're looking at like profit?
Great question. So I'm gonna just, Eric, this is your wheelhouse. You go first. Or do you want me to go first? You want me to go first?
So, we started with the gross ROI number, which is pretty simple. There's some backwards math that you can use working off of that in terms of, what your expenses will look like. Probably 30% of your gross revenue is going to go to, your basic expenses of utilities, supplies, things like that. That can certainly vary based on a number of things. Obviously, a mortgage or financing is going to be a major expense. So, the lower you can get those costs, the better. Luckily, we're seeing rates come down a little bit. But that 30% of gross revenue as expenses is generally a good place to start. That can, if you're in Florida, your insurance is going to cost more than it does other places. If you're in Pennsylvania, your property taxes might, be significantly higher than other places as well. Things like that are, you have to consider, but it's
30% include marketing, or is
No.
marketing above and beyond that?
That's above.
That would be above.
So I'm going to baseline, and maybe Matt can tell us, he's the professional here, he's got 18 units. 50% of your revenue is expense. Okay, here's what I do, and I only go with what I know. Okay, I am a C student all the way through. I am one of those guys that's going to run down the street and screaming with my hair on fire and make you want to come with me, but I don't know what you know, or I don't have the patience for that. How about that? Patience is the thing. Yeah, I don't have it. I can get ADD and I can't lose, and I'll lose it. But here's what I know, what I can do. So, okay, I get a good faith estimate from my lender, and the good faith estimate tells me exactly what the monthly mortgage payment, including the insurance and all the stuff, right? Then I go out and I go to the averages around the area for the electric cost. Does it have internet? Does it have, what are the things that I need to buy? I can then tell you, here are your expenses monthly, right? Then this is just me, can I match that number at 50% occupied? So do all my costs equal $5,000, right? And I'm projecting to make 100 at 50%. Am I covering my costs? Because then it's all about me marketing the shit out of this thing, right? I can't change the expenses because they're the same, but I can change the occupancy, right? And what I can do to draw people in. So I'm looking at what are my actual numbers. It costs me $5,000 to hold this property. If I just do 50% occupied, I know I'm not making any money. Okay, there's another thing involved with all of this stuff. It's a real estate investment. So you're going to gain money on your equity over time, hopefully, right? Not only what the market does, but what your guests are paying down that you won't have to pay, hopefully. Hopefully. If you're smart, you're using a tax strategy as well to kind of write off a whole bunch of money to save on your taxes, and that's going to give you some money to put back into it. And then you have to figure out on top of all of that what your actual, like, engage, what's the term that I'm looking for when I have to fix stuff? Just on an annual basis, like how much money, like, yeah, maintenance items. What should I put aside for maintenance items?
Like 3 to 5%.
Okay, so now I'm at 3 to 5% of your, whatever. So that's real, right? Now I get all that real stuff in front of me, and now I go, okay, does this match with the occupancy rates of the area? Does this match with the nightly rates that are the average daily rates that we're pulling in or can pull in? And then what do the top performers do?
It's like a market analysis.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But I start with what I absolutely know because the rest of it is horse crap until I can get there. Because I can start today and think I'm the greatest thing since ice cubes, but the guests may not. But I know what my costs are.
Yeah, we have a performer that we use, tries to estimate every thinkable expense, and at the end of the day, we lock 10% off our revenue projection and add 10% to our expenses, and if the deal still makes sense at that point, then it's potentially worth pursuing. And I'd say that's a mistake a lot of people make, is just underestimating expenses. There's so many things that you don't always think about. I made a mistake buying a cabin in the woods, and I didn't really estimate anything on propane expenses, which I have a gas fireplace that guests love turning on. That thing burns. I want to get rid of it, but yeah,
$5 a gallon.
It's fairly, I spend a couple $1,000s a year on propane that was not factored into my rookie mistake. So learn from me, and think about all these little things. Snow removal we were talking about earlier, like in some markets can be a major expense, and you have to think about all of these things because it doesn't take much to turn a profitable investment into not, because you didn't think about certain things that
100%
are expensive.
Yeah, 100%. But if you know your costs out the gate and then you match it to 50% occupied because that's what your market is, you should be able to figure it out from there.
Yeah, I think, just short-term rentals in general, talking about, grossing $100,000 a year, people are like, woo, take it to the bank. So I think it's good to kind of have that double check.
A lot of things that you buy that you don't buy with a long-term rental. Toilet paper.
Furniture.
Furniture, yeah. Anyone ever
So
buy
the
toilet
other one
paper
is,
in
so Matt asked you this question. So someone comes along and they break a lamp or they spill a glass of wine.
I've already factored that into my costs. So we're probably, and most people have different philosophies on this, but I'm not going to chase a
You're not
broken
chasing
lamp.
Airbnb for the dollars.
Yeah, exactly. So factor that into the costs, and I tell when I have a new owner come on board, I tell them we're going to lose a glass a month, right? A wine glass, something's going to break every
You
month.
must have run a restaurant at some point. There's breakage in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know it. What's the breakage percentage at your restaurant?
I don't have that number, but I clean a handful of those every single weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Sir.
In commercial real estate, we are able to do a lot of depreciation and things like that, and there's the real estate professional designation. I've heard that short-term rentals have, a little bit of a loophole with the requirements to qualify for that. Do you find that most people who are owning a few of these are able to qualify if they're like not working anymore, and that's their?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because I know you have to have like more
that
hours
is-
than
that's a-
everybody else.
Can
and-
we go back to the caveat of this isn't legal advice? I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, but yeah, so what you're talking about is the short-term rental loophole stays of, your average stay has to be less than 7 days. You don't need real estate professional status, but there are certain criteria that you can make that can qualify you for bonus depreciation. So if you buy a house, do a cost segregation study, you can take a lot of that depreciation the first year. The requirement that most people hit is spending at least 100 hours in the year, managing your rental and spending more time than anyone else. If you're,
Is that feasible though, when you have like a cleaner who's coming in every term?
it's feasible. I mean, I've I manage my own rentals myself. There's times when it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down for 4 hours today and make updates to my website. I'm going to, change like that. All of that counts. You just have to track your time accurately, and you have to track everyone else's time accurately as well. I have a good friend who's a CPA, short-term rental specific, and he's gone through a few audits and won, and always the first thing they ask for is that time log. And people have had issues when, like, maybe they didn't track the cleaner's time. It's like, okay, here's my 110 hours, but we don't have the time of everyone else, and so that's what causes problems.
Yeah.
Another requirement is if you have multiple rentals, you can work 500 hours in total amongst all of them, and then you don't have to meet any sort of more than anyone else threshold, but 500 hours is a lot. I don't think I've ever hit 500 hours, but yeah.
I have a couple things to add to that. So the way a lot of people, with everything, there's YouTube that's out there, and there's a ton of different coaching programs and all the buzzwords, bonus depreciation, 100% bonus, all the things, right? And people are out there and they listen to this. And then they come to me and they go, we want to buy one because we want to do this. And I go, great, let's talk about that. Because before you even buy a house, I want to ask you a couple of other quick questions. First and most important, how are you going to buy this house? Is it cash? Is it a DSCR loan? Or is it a 10%, 20%? What is the loan that you're going to use? Oh, I'm going to use the 10% down payment because I don't have a lot of cash. Okay, great. That requires you to do a certain amount of things. You have to stay in the house a couple of weeks out of the year. You have to be less or more than 60 miles away from your current residence. There's a lot of little nuances. Do they check it? Maybe, maybe not, right? All right, so now that plays into your expenses. So your 10% down payment, obviously your expenses are higher. You may even have PMI and other things to deal with. So now we're talking about this piece. Well, my wife, she's going to quit her job and she's going to do this thing. And I said, have you talked to your CPA before she does that? Because you want to, and the attorney and all the other things so that because I'm not the guy. I'm not going to tell you, you can do, I can mile IQ everything, right? I can take time from my house, because I have a home office, to drive to the property. That is included, right? But there's a lot of things that you can screw up and you don't want to be audited. And so the cost seg company that I use is called CSSI. They very rarely, if any, get audited because they are systematized, very specific as to what each and everything is before you do it, and they'll look at it and analyze it and say this is worth it or not. So your cost seg person might say the same thing.
That we generally recommend them as well.
CSSI? Yeah. Cool. So, yes, there's tax benefits. Yes, there's great profit margins, but yes, there's more things to do in this game. And it's glamorous, at the same time, not as glamorous as it can be or should be. All right, that's all I got. It's almost time. Is it time, everybody? Cool. Start with data, question and answers. Cool. Voila.
Voila.